Well, I had polio when I was 5 years old. I could just remember it. And I sat back of the big round oak stove in the bar room. My mother rubbed my leg there for hour after hour. She called Dr. Morris and told him what was wrong. And he says, I think the boy's got polio. So that was the last I heard of it. Of course, I stopped aching and I got where I played all the time. When they moved to Jeff, Dr. Andrews used to watch me because I was playing baseball or anything with the kids. I'd start to run and down I'd go, face first, right into the ground. So he finally got me down to Burlington and see a doctor down there. And then there was the doctor that came up from Boston and looked at me and he says, yes, I could fix that, but he says it'll going to take 3-4 weeks while I'm down there. So I remember the 1st of December, my folks took me to Burlington, and Dr. Andrews went too. And I got a nurse down there that had been seeing me right along, and she went with me, and I don't remember if we took the train out of Burlington or Essex Junction, but we went to Boston. Got to White River Junction and picked up another young fellow from Windsor who was going down and have the doctor do some work on his leg. And it was a long draw, an affair.
It must have been scary for you.
Well...
Was that your first time on a train?
Yes. I got into the hospital there, and that, when they got around to it, they took me into the upstairs at 7 o'clock in the morning. They operated on me, and they gave me so much ether they had to use oxygen to bring me to.
Oh my gosh.
And it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon when they got me back to my room.
And your parents weren't with you?
No, I was no parents at all. And the room that I had there was 8 beds in there, in that hospital. The fellow that from Windsor, I was on one side, and he was way on the other side.
Was he about your age, or what?
He was about my age.
Yeah.
I remember that there was brought in a fellow there one night, the operator on appendicitis, it was Jack, the lady. He was the prize fighter in Boston.
Oh.
So we had a great visit with him.
Oh, that was nice.
Then the chief of the police came and saw me before I came home from Quincy. They were great friends of the Porters up here on the Johnson Road.
So they had heard that you were there.
The Porters had notified him, and so he came.
Well, that was nice of him.
Yeah. And then the next morning, they got us on the train. We left down at 8 o'clock. Then he got off at White River. And then coming up through, the big darky kid, the porter, came along, and he says, aren't you going to eat? I said, I'm sorry, but I haven't got any money to buy anything. And away he went. It wasn't long before he came back with a big sandwich and a glass of milk for me.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
That's quite an experience for someone 14 years old, you know?
That's right.
It is. It really is.
Then when they got off down the Essex Junction, he told me just before we got to the railroad station, he says, you sit in that chair until I come back. He says, you stay there. I did. So when he come back, he got my overcoat from up over the rack there, my hat, my gloves. And I went out, and when he went down the stairs there off the car, he went backwards. So just in case that I should fall, he could catch me.
Now, what time of year was this, Stub?
This was the 23rd of December when I came home.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Isn't that something?
I remember I hadn't been home too long. I sat right there in the chair in front of the wood stove. All at once, the old yellow cat came out and jumped right up into my lap. He was asleep under the stove when I got there.
Now, do you remember, did you have any restrictions from having had the surgery? I mean, were there things you couldn't do, like, you know, running and so forth?
Oh,
no.
I wore a cast way into the middle of June.
Oh.
From December to the middle of June. And of course, it was just bed up just enough.
It was just one leg.
Yeah,
that
so you couldn't stand on it.
Now, were there any other kids or anything that developed polio at that time, or not? Or were you?
Yeah, there was others around that.
There were.
Yes.
I wondered if you were an isolated case on it, or
no.
or what. Of course, that was probably before the vaccine and
Oh, yeah,
all
long
of that,
time
of course.
before that.
Yeah, yeah. So did this restrict you as far as playing in sports and so forth, or not?
No.
After you got right around?
After I got started and everything, I played baseball 4 years. I played basketball some, but not too much.
So it was
But I enjoyed myself.
yeah, yeah. Now at that time then, when you were in junior high and everything, you were up on the farm, were you?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, okay. Now was there a junior high or at that time, you know, like 7th and 8th grade?
7th and 8th grade.
Okay, and then you went into the high school?
Yes.
And that was the same, that would be over here?
Yes.
To Cambridge High School?
Mhm.
Okay. Do you remember how many there were in your graduating class?
There was 22 in our graduating class.
How many are left now?
I think is 8.
Okay, out of 22, around 22. What year did you graduate?
1932.
Okay, year I was born. I shouldn't say that, should I?
I know
okay.
how old you are now.
You know how old, yeah. Do you remember in your class the craziest person, the craziest one in your class?
Yes, the craziest one we had was going at all a long.
That figures.
Yeah. She and Irma Curtis, sweet, Eunice Bell Gates, they were about always together doing something. You never could tell what they were going to do either.
There was one thing I thought of, and then I didn't. Went on to something different. But to go back, when you were a child, how were you disciplined if you had done something that your parents did not approve of?
Well, when my father was young, going to school, his dad told him, he says, now, if you get in trouble at school, you're going to have trouble when you get home. And I was told the same thing when I went to school, that if you get in trouble, you'll have more when you get home.
And they followed through with it.
And they followed through with it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's different than today. I think sometimes parents tend to, you know, overlook things, don't you? That
Yes.
kids do. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember one time when I think it was Jeff that was having trouble on the bus, and I told Eloise and Louis Damaris to have him sit on the front seat so he wouldn't be in trouble. And Eloise said, well, the only trouble is there's not enough front seats. That was fine. He could sit on the front seat, but there weren't enough of them. So I guess he wasn't the only one that was acting up. So, but anyway. Do you remember anything about any of your high school teachers, special ones?
Yes, okay, Jenny was a really great principal.
Okay.
He could give you a holy devil one day, and the next day he was your best friend, because he never held anything against any of the kids.
And you respected him?
And everybody respected him for it.
Now, did he also teach, or was he just the
Oh, yeah,
principal?
he taught too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what would have been your most favorite subject in high school, you think?
Well, I liked history and geography the best.
Well, that figures. That figures.
But my worst one was French.
French?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I had to take it.
You had to take French?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Either French or Latin. I didn't want Latin, so.
Isn't that something? How were your marks?
Well, I started in high school, and I didn't go quite a half year. I didn't like it. I didn't pass anything.
You're
So
kidding.
I went back home, went to work on the farm, and when it came September, I went back to school. I asked my father if it was all right. He says, yes, I want you to. So I went back to school. And then from then on, I passed every subject. And of course, I was high boy in the class of 32.
So what do you think, what was the difference? What do you think made the difference between...
Well, being young, I didn't want to study. I had too much fooling around to do.
That's interesting.
But I found out after working on the farm from then till next September, I found that school's a good
School
place to go.
wasn't a bad thing to
Yeah.
do. Well, I was going to ask you if you ever failed a subject, and obviously you did there for a while. But you made up for it.
I never did after that.
What did you do? You said you played baseball.
Yes.
And basketball. And did you have school plays and stuff like
yes,
that?
we had every class had a school play back in
Okay.
those years.
Okay.
And I was always in them.
And did you have, what did you do for fun? I mean, like, did you have school dances or stuff like that, or not? Do you remember?
They had school dances, but I didn't go to them because I had to be at home to do
You had to do
farm work.
Yeah, yeah. But you learned, you knew how to dance. You had learned how to dance.
I didn't learn till the last year in school.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you ski?
I skied some.
Skate?
No, never skated any.
Learned how to swim?
No,
No, you didn't.
never learned.
It's funny when you talk with people of like with your age group. Either they were very good swimmers and so forth, or they never learned how.
That's right.
Isn't it? It's I don't know what the, you know, how it comes about, but anyway. During your teenage years, did you have a hero?
No, never thought anything about it.
Okay, nothing like today with Michael Jordans and
No.
all of those. Nothing
No,
like
not back
that.
then.
Okay. Radio shows. Do you remember
Oh yes.
favorite radio
I always
shows?
had to listen to the radio with my folks. Amos Mandy, Fibber McGee, and Molly, because that's what they wanted to listen to, and the rest of us had to do the same.
Hmm. It was a family time.
Yes.
Yeah. And movies. When did they start?
Well, in 1919, we come down from Belvedere to go to the movies. Holly Brothers had their grocery store there, and my folks would leave them the grocery list. We'd go upstairs and go to the movies.
Okay, is that
And they were silent movies, but they always had music.
now? That's where the Windridge is now, or Diners Diners Done.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And Della Tracy played the piano. Otney Stratton played the violin. Bill Lease played the trumpet. And Parker Stark played the drums.
Okay.
And they would play all the time during the movie was on. Then after the movies, they'd move the chairs all on the side, and they would dance till midnight.
It would seem to me that would be distracting from the movies, but it wasn't, huh?
No,
No?
no, not a bit. After the movies, my folks would take us downstairs and set us at a table, and buy us a dish of ice cream, and we'd eat that, and they told us to sit there until they come back, and we didn't get up and run around.
Now, where was this? Where this was down in the store?
This was down in the store.
Oh, really?
They had an ice cream fountain up at the front on the left as you went in.
Oh. Sounds like you were pretty well behaved as far as what you were supposed to do.
We knew better.
Yes. Did you have a job while you were in high school? But of course you had to work on the farm.
I had to work on a farm, so
Did you get paid for doing that?
we didn't get much.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
Back in those days, in the late 20s, you know, things are kind of hard.
Now, how about an allowance? Did you have an allowance?
Well, the allowance I got, I used to take, 2, 3 dozen of eggs down to the Holly Brothers and sell them. That was my allowance for the week.
Do you remember how much it cost to go to the movies?
I don't remember down there. But when we moved down to Jeff here and went to the movies there at the Old Town Hall, it cost 10 cents.
10 cents.
And the grown-ups is 25.
Isn't that something? Now, how do you have any idea about how long would the movie have lasted? Would it have been an hour?
They were hour and a half.
Hour and a half? Okay.
Yeah.
But they were silent. They were
silent movies. And the same people played there down here at the town hall that played at the Holly Brothers.
Isn't
The
that?
first talkie that I went to was a bunch of us young fellows went up to Morrisville to see the Gold Diggers of Broadway.
Oh my
that
gosh!
was colored and the talkie.
And you remember it?
Yeah.
Isn't that it was the first one? Isn't that something? Did you have a car?
No.
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 You knew how to drive, though.
Oh, I knew how to drive.
And you could take your dad's car.
Yeah.
But I imagine there were limitations as to, it had to be probably something fairly important for you to,
That's right.
you couldn't just...
No, we couldn't just take it and go somewhere.
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah.
Did you have a steady girlfriend in high school?
No, I never did.
Okay. When the kids did date in high school, what kind of things would they do? They would go to the movies?
They'd go to the movies, or then they'd have parties around the different houses.
Okay, okay. Now, this is a subject I do have to ask you. Today, of course, every time you pick up a paper or a magazine or on the TV, you hear about sex education, everything. Was that ever discussed in school? Sex?
That was never discussed back in those days.
Okay.
No.
It was a forbidden subject,
Yeah, that's
pretty
right.
much. Yeah, okay. Did any, without mentioning any names or anything, but was there any pregnancies in high school when you were there? Did any of the girls get pregnant?
Well, not as I remember.
No, uh-huh.
No.
And that's different, too. That's
Yes.
different than today, too.
Yeah.
What would you say, growing up, would have been the biggest point of contention between you and your parents? What did you do, you think, that perhaps upset them the most, or could have upset them the most?
Well, I tried to do as I was told, so I didn't try to upset the folks at all. But I remember one night when I was home there, went to Westford to a dance, and I took the car down, and we had a terrible snowstorm, got far back as far as the Giddens farm, and the car stopped. So I got home just in time enough that morning, walked most of the way to help melt, and then I had to get my brother and get the McGovern's truck, go down and get the car.
But it wasn't anything really that was your fault or anything? No.
It just got wet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you actually stuck pretty much to the rules then?
Yeah, my father said afterwards, he says, you want to remember, those to dance must pay the fiddler.
Mm-hmm. I think I've heard that before. Was there drinking and smoking? Did the kids drink or smoke in high school?
Not very often.
Not very often.
Once in a while somebody would smoke, but if they caught them around the schoolyard anywhere, they caught the double from the principal.
Mm-hmm. And what did you do after you graduated from high school?
What's that?
After you graduated from high school, what did you do?
Well, I worked on the farm that summer, and then that fall I went down to the University of Vermont. But I was taken sick in December, and I had to give it up, and I couldn't make it up, so I quit.
If you hadn't have gotten sick, you think you would have enjoyed it or not?
Oh yes, I think I would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you, of course, wanted to be a chauffeur when you were growing up. What was your thoughts that you wanted to do?
Well, when I went down there, I was thinking about being a farmer.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Your first job. What was your first job?
Well, my first job was cutting Christmas trees. I started in September and went up to the Northeast Kingdom. Bill Bryant, myself, and Vincent McLean from Underhill. Vincent was the boss, and then there was a couple fellows up there that they hired. We cut Christmas trees in Westfield, Lowell, South Troy, North Troy, and Jay. And then we went into North Troy, and while they loaded them on railroad cars and shipped them to New York and Boston and different places.
You remember how much you got paid?
We worked 7 days a week from daylight till dark, and we got $14 and our board.
Oh my gosh! Would you have do you consider that was one of the hardest jobs that you did?
I don't think so,
No.
because I love the outdoors and I love the woods.
What was the hardest job you think you've ever done?
I think driving truck and delivering feed for T.J. McGovern's stores.
Was the hardest? Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, when you were doing this job on the Christmas trees, how did you get back and forth? You said you had room and board there.
Yeah, we had
Okay.
we boarded right up there in that country, and
Okay.
then there was one of the fellows had an automobile, and he'd take us to the